Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before I say anything else, listen closely. If a woman can't stop thinking about you, her body betrays her long before her words ever will, and once you notice it, you can't unsee it. That quiet tension you feel when she looks at you, that pause that lingers half a second too long, that's not coincidence, it's psychology. If you want more truths like this, subscribe now and like this video, because what I'm about to share is rarely said out loud. I'm speaking to you as a psychologist, not to flatter you, but to wake you up. Most men miss the signs because they expect fantasies to look loud, obvious, or sexual. In reality, fantasy hides in restraint. When a woman is secretly imagining you, her mind rehearses scenarios before her mouth ever catches up. She becomes hyper-aware of how she appears around you. You'll notice subtle self-corrections. She adjusts her posture when you enter, smooths her hair without realizing it, or suddenly becomes still, as if she's trying not to reveal too much. This isn't vanity, it's mental rehearsal meeting emotional risk. Another hidden sign is selective vulnerability. She doesn't open up to everyone the same way. With you, she shares thoughts she normally edits out. Not dramatic confessions, but quiet truths slipped into conversation. A frustration at work, a memory from years ago, a fear she laughs off afterward. Her mind is testing emotional intimacy because fantasy isn't only physical, it's psychological closeness imagined in advance. Pay attention to how she listens to you. When a woman fantasizes, she listens forward, not just to respond, but to absorb. She remembers small details you forgot you said. She brings them up later, casually, as if it meant nothing, but it meant everything. That's her mind replaying you when you're not there. And finally, there's restraint. If she could have you easily, the fantasy would lose its charge, so she holds back. She may pull away slightly after moments of closeness. That push and pull isn't confusion, it's desire managing itself. She's protecting the image she's built of you in her mind, and that image keeps returning when she's alone. If you recognize even one of these patterns, don't rush, don't force clarity. Awareness changes your presence, and presence is what turns imagination into reality, slowly, safely, and on her terms, over time. When a woman is secretly fantasizing about you, time behaves differently around her, and most men never notice this shift. Conversations stretch, silences don't feel awkward, they feel charged. She doesn't rush to fill gaps because her mind is already busy imagining where those gaps could lead. From a psychological perspective, this happens when anticipation activates the same neural pathways as memory. She's not just with you in the moment, she's replaying you before and after it ends. One of the clearest hidden signs is how she reacts to your absence. When you're not around, she finds subtle reasons to reinsert you into her mental space. She might reference something you said days ago, bring up a shared joke unexpectedly, or ask a question that didn't need asking. This isn't small talk, it's cognitive anchoring. Her mind is pulling you back because you never fully left. Fantasizing isn't constant daydreaming, it's recurring mental return. Watch her emotional regulation around you. If she's unusually calm or unusually flustered, both can signal the same thing. Some women become softer, more grounded, as if your presence regulates them. Others become slightly nervous, laughing too quickly, speaking a bit faster, then correcting themselves. Both responses come from heightened self-awareness. She cares how she is perceived by you, which means you already occupy space in her internal world. Another sign is subtle jealousy without ownership. She doesn't accuse or confront, but her energy shifts when other women enter the picture. She becomes quieter, more observant, sometimes more distant. That's fantasy colliding with reality. Her mind has imagined you in a certain role, and competition threatens that image. Psychologically, this triggers protective distancing rather than aggression, especially when feelings aren't consciously admitted yet. She also tests boundaries in quiet ways, not through touch necessarily, but through conversation depth, humor, or teasing. She may challenge you playfully, question your opinions, or joke in ways that feel personal. This isn't disrespect, it's engagement. Fantasy needs interaction to stay alive, and these micro-tests help her gauge how safe, confident, and grounded you are. Here's the truth most men never hear. When a woman fantasizes about you, she's not deciding whether she wants you. She's deciding whether wanting you is safe. Your consistency, emotional control, and patience matter more than charm. If you remain steady without chasing, warm without pressure, You become the place her mind returns to effortlessly, and once that happens, fantasy deepens, not fades. Now let's talk about the way she communicates when she's secretly fantasizing about you. Most men think communication is verbal. They think if a woman doesn't say it, it isn't happening. But the truth is far more nuanced and far more revealing. Her words are carefully curated, often indirect, and layered with double meanings only a perceptive mind can catch. She might drop hints about what she's thinking without ever saying it outright. She'll describe experiences she's had, opinions she holds, or feelings she hides, but the timing, tone, and emphasis reveal far more than the content itself. Look closely at how often she initiates contact versus how much she responds. She may not always text you first, but when she does, her messages are precise, loaded with subtle emotional triggers, a memory you shared, a playful question, a teasing remark. She's testing engagement, seeing if you'll respond in ways that validate the image of you she's built in her mind. Her texts, her calls, even her emojis become a silent language. That's fantasy at work. Every interaction becomes a rehearsal of what she's imagining. Her curiosity is another tell. She doesn't just ask about your day. She digs into how you think, what you want, the experiences that shape you. This isn't casual interest. It's mental mapping. She's building a detailed blueprint of who you are, so her mind can play scenarios where she fits in naturally. You may think she's just friendly, but friendly doesn't obsess over consistency, patterns, and personal details. Obsession cloaked in casualness is one of the strongest hidden signs that she can't stop thinking about you. You'll notice micro-engagements too. She mirrors your body language subtly, laughs at your jokes slightly after you expect it, or finishes your sentences when she's sure it won't be noticed. These aren't mistakes, they're unconscious signals of alignment. She wants your presence to feel familiar even when it's absent, training her own mind to imagine you in ways reality hasn't yet allowed. And here's the key most men overlook. She will test emotional depth without realizing it. She may push boundaries with questions about your past, your fears, your desires, small probes that feel casual but are deeply revealing. Each test is her mind assessing safety and possibility. If you respond with calm, confidence, and emotional steadiness, she stores that in her mental image of you. Over time, that image becomes almost tangible, and the fantasies she keeps secret grow stronger, more vivid, and impossible to ignore. This is why you can't treat subtlety as nothing. Small words, fleeting glances, delayed replies, they all matter. They're not random. They're signals from a mind entangled with yours before she even admits it to herself. And when you recognize this, you begin to understand the true power you hold in her imagination and in her heart. Let's talk about touch, but not in the way most men think. You might expect a woman who fantasizes about you to be overt, but often her body speaks before her words ever do, and in ways almost impossible to fake. She'll create opportunities for brief, almost accidental contact. A hand brushing yours, a shoulder touch that lingers slightly, a hug that's a heartbeat longer than necessary. It's not about intent consciously expressed. It's her subconscious testing the boundaries of closeness while keeping control. Notice how she occupies space around you. She may lean in during conversation, angle her body toward you even in group settings, or subtly mirror your movements. These are microsignals, almost invisible unless you're paying close attention. She's tuning herself to you, and this isn't random behavior, it's a physiological response. Her brain is associating your presence with pleasure and anticipation, and that association fuels fantasy. Her energy shifts unpredictably, and that's another clue. Sometimes she's playful, teasing, and mischievous. Other times she becomes quiet, introspective, almost vulnerable. That contrast isn't moodiness. It's the internal tension of her imagination versus reality. Her fantasies are alive, and her mind is constantly negotiating between what she desires and what she feels safe to express. That tension leaks out through her eyes, her posture, her subtle gestures. Watch for small, repeated patterns. She may touch her hair, bite her lip, or adjust clothing when you notice, or even when you don't. These actions are often subconscious, and the repetition is important. Repetition is the mind reinforcing desire, a physical echo of a mental fantasy. It's like a secret drumbeat only you can feel if you pay attention, signaling she's thinking of you even when her lips are silent. There's also the way she reacts to your compliments or attention. Some women shy away, nervously laugh, or redirect the praise, but she remembers it. She stores it, replays it in her mind, and it fuels the scenarios she imagines. If she fantasizes about you, your acknowledgement matters far more than you realize. Her mind transforms small validation into a vivid internal experience, a private rehearsal that strengthens her attachment. And here's the unspoken truth. The more controlled her outward behavior, the stronger the internal fantasy. Women who are openly flirtatious may enjoy attention broadly. Women who restrain themselves around you are often imagining deeply, replaying moments over and over, crafting a version of intimacy in her mind that doesn't yet exist in reality. If you sense this restraint, recognize it. You're not just in her thoughts. You've become the central character in a story she's playing silently, continuously, and with growing intensity. This is where subtlety becomes power. Her restraint is not rejection. It's a window into desire. The quieter she seems, the louder her mind is speaking about you. And if you learn to read these signs, you understand a truth most men never see. Fantasy is invisible until you know how to observe it. Now, let's dive into what she does when she's not around you, because this is where the truth hides in plain sight. If a woman is secretly fantasizing about you, her mind doesn't just pause when you leave the room. It replays, rewinds, and fast-forwards through every interaction, every word, every glance. She imagines conversations that never happened, scenarios that might never occur, and possibilities she hasn't dared to voice. This mental rehearsal keeps you constantly present in her private world, long after reality has ended. You'll notice subtle evidence in the little ways she engages with technology. She might scroll through your social media more than seems casual, linger on old photos, reread your texts, or check updates you didn't even realize she was following. These actions aren't obsessive in a dramatic sense. They're habitual. Her brain is trying to reconstruct your presence, and each touchpoint strengthens the image she's built in her imagination. The repetition of seeing or thinking about you triggers dopamine, the same chemical released during actual physical closeness. Her mind is effectively living out closeness, even when it isn't happening. Another indicator is how she talks about other men, or rather, how she avoids it. When a woman fantasizes about someone, she often deflects or minimizes attention to others. She may subtly redirect conversations away from relationships, downplay flirtation, or laugh nervously when the topic arises. This isn't insecurity. It's the preservation of her internal narrative about you. In her mind, the scenarios she's built require exclusivity, attention, and the freedom to imagine without interference. Pay attention to her mood patterns. Fantasizing often manifests as subtle emotional highs and lows. She might seem unusually energized after seeing you, more optimistic, more playful, or she may appear withdrawn after interactions, as though processing something internally. These fluctuations are a hallmark of someone mentally rehearsing desire. They're living in two worlds at once, the present and the imagined reality she keeps returning to. Finally, notice how she talks to mutual friends about you. She might ask innocuous questions indirectly, frame stories to see how you react, or gauge whether others notice your qualities the way she does. These micro-tests are quiet, often unconscious, and they're her way of keeping you alive in her private narrative. She's building a map of your life alongside hers, creating intersections for the fantasy to flourish. The lesson here is critical. When a woman fantasizes, her mind doesn't rest. Her actions, subtle or seemingly inconsequential, are evidence of attention, desire, and a mental devotion most men never recognize. If you can perceive this pattern, you step into a rare space of influence. You're no longer just present physically. You're embedded in the architecture of her imagination, shaping scenarios she will return to again and again, long before she ever admits it to anyone, even herself. Here's where most men completely miss what's happening. The way she dreams about you is never just physical. It's emotional, psychological, and entirely relational. She imagines not only what you might do together, but who you are in her presence, how you respond under pressure, how your mind works, how you make her feel without even realizing it. This is why subtle patterns matter so much. If she laughs at your humor, it's not just laughter, it's an emotional anchor. If she pauses when you speak, it's not hesitation, it's absorption. Every micro-reaction feeds the fantasy she plays in private. You'll notice that she remembers the smallest details about you, things you've long forgotten, the color of your shirt on a random Tuesday, a phrase you casually used once, a joke you thought went unnoticed. These aren't coincidences. Her memory is selective, powered by emotional significance. Psychologically, our brains store what triggers emotional arousal. When a woman fantasizes about you, you trigger those pathways constantly, creating a loop of thought she can't easily escape. Her imagination also tests possibilities silently. She imagines conflicts, resolutions, laughter, even intimate moments. She runs scenarios in her mind where you react in ways she hopes, fears, or dreams about. These mental simulations are invisible, but they manifest subtly. A hesitant smile, a deep gaze that lingers, a tone of voice slightly softer than normal. If you notice these, understand that she's mentally walking a line between reality and the story she keeps privately. And here's the key point most men never grasp. She doesn't always want these fantasies to be obvious. The thrill is in restraint. The secrecy is part of the desire. She may act aloof, distracted, or even mildly distant at times. Don't mistake this for disinterest. In fact, it's often the opposite. By withholding overt signals, she preserves the mental tension that makes the fantasy vivid and emotionally charged. Finally, notice how she positions herself around your emotions. Women who imagine you consistently respond with heightened empathy. She senses subtle changes in your mood, adjusts her energy in response, and sometimes mirrors your emotional state without realizing it. This unconscious alignment is a direct result of her mental investment. She's rehearsing connection long before any real action takes place. Understand this: when a woman fantasizes about you, you're more than just a presence. You're a psychological anchor. You occupy mental space she can't ignore, and every interaction, glance, and word you share feeds the vivid, private narrative she keeps alive. If you recognize these signs and respond with awareness and consistency, you're not just noticed, you're unforgettable. Now, the final truth you need to hear. When a woman secretly fantasizes about you, it changes how she experiences reality, and it can change your life if you understand it. This isn't about manipulation, games, or superficial attraction. This is about the invisible gravitational pull her mind creates. She isn't just thinking about you occasionally, she's replaying moments, constructing scenarios, testing boundaries, and imagining futures. And all of this is happening long before she ever admits it to herself or to anyone else. One of the clearest signs is the intensity of her attention. She notices subtle shifts in your mood, the way your energy changes in a room, even the smallest gestures you make. She stores these moments and replays them repeatedly, crafting narratives where she fits naturally into your life. This attention is selective. It's not extended to everyone, and that exclusivity is powerful. It tells you that her mind has made space for you in a way no one else occupies. Another hidden marker is her emotional risk-taking, but disguised in restraint. She may joke, tease, or subtly test your reactions, but she rarely oversteps. Every small probe is calculated, unconscious, yet revealing. She wants to see how safe and grounded you are without breaking the control she maintains over her own emotions. If you respond with patience and consistency, she silently rewards that behavior, strengthening her internal fantasy and emotional attachment. Her fantasies are also future-oriented. She doesn't just dwell on the past or present interactions. She imagines scenarios where your lives intersect in meaningful ways, conversations that never happened, experiences yet to be shared, moments of connection that exist only in her mind. These imagined futures guide her behavior in the present, influencing how she engages, how she invests attention, and even how she feels when you're not around. Finally, understand this: restraint does not equal rejection. Often, the quieter she is, the more powerful her internal fantasy. She's mentally rehearsing closeness while maintaining composure externally. This is the secret she's never saying, the private devotion she can't reveal, and the longing that colors every interaction with you. If you recognize it, you're no longer just a man she interacts with. You've become a permanent figure in her emotional and psychological world. The ultimate lesson is this: Noticing these hidden signs transforms how you relate to her. Awareness changes your presence, your influence, and the energy you bring. You're not chasing her mind. You're stepping into the space she's already reserved for you. And once you understand this, once you see the subtle clues, you hold the rare power to turn private fantasy into real connection, not by forcing it, but by honoring it, guiding it, and letting it unfold naturally.